Peace be with you. Malcolm X said, if you're not careful, the media will have you loving the oppressor and hating the oppressed. I want to talk a little bit about the current situation in Gaza, the current situation in Palestine and Israel. I want to give a little bit of background on this so people understand why this happens, because media lies by omission. The story never starts with what's happening to the Palestinians. They are left to suffer in silence, and only when they lash out, when they can't take it anymore, that's when the media starts the story and says the Palestinians are the aggressors. The story goes back much further than that, however. Prior to World War II, in 1917, Britain declared an intent to create a home for Jewish Europeans in Palestine. That didn't happen right away, however, and some years later, there started to be a huge wave of illegal immigration into that land. Now, mind you, it doesn't matter what that land was called. There were people living there. So these people, they're looking at huge waves of illegal immigrants, people that they themselves don't want to come here. And it doesn't matter if a foreign power authorized these people to come there. But they don't want these people coming here no more than your average American wants people pouring over our southern border. But as that happened, the people living there, now called the Palestinians, they started to object. And there was communal violence, and eventually the occupying power, which at that point was the British Empire, decided that they want to partition the land, right? And there's a common saying, people often say, well, the Palestinians had a chance to their own country at that time, and they refused the partition. But let me put it in context for you. Consider the problem we have at our southern border right now, right? We have huge influx of illegal immigrants. Now consider that eventually they become so numerous and they don't want to be a part of America. They just want to take a part of it for themselves. And China steps in and says, here's your deal. All of you Americans, you get everything east of Colorado or Denver, and the South American immigrants who you did not invite to come to this country, who came here illegally as illegal immigrants, we're going to give them everything west of Denver. And then, are you to blame if you react to that with violence? Well, the Palestinians are certainly demonized like that, and it is nonsense. That is how media manipulates. Victimhood is true power. You have to understand that. If you can identify yourself as a victim, if you can get people to accept you as a victim, then you have all the power. You can do whatever you want. You can bomb their mosques, you can bomb their schools, you can kill their children, you can imprison them in a ghetto, and you are only defending yourself. So for many decades now, we have been only given a part of the story out here in the West. So we are somehow programmed to view the Zionist government in Israel as the victim. And that's how it's always been. But they're not the victim. These people they started as illegal immigrants. Then they cleansed that land through terror. And you look up what Irgun and Stern Gang did, and then what every successive Israeli government has done since then. Their country, their nation, they're not all bad. First, let me say that some people who are Jewish, some organizations that are Jewish, like Jewish Voice for Peace, B'Tselem, Peace Now, are all Jewish organizations that have been working extremely hard to get the voice out of the suffering of the Palestinians, because these are just people. They're not the same as Ben Gvir, who is now in charge of security, a settler, a purely racist settler. And look him up online and look at his background, who spews inflammatory rhetoric and basically makes it clear to the Palestinians that they are second-class citizens and they will stay second-class citizens. That is the issue. So this society that started as illegal immigration, then progressed to terror and ethnic cleansing, and now is based on systemic racism. Their discrimination is systemic. It is based in their law. Now, these people who are in prison in Gaza, and they say, well, no, Gaza is not a prison. Yes, of course it is a prison. It has always been a prison. And they say, oh, we pulled out our settlers from Gaza and gave them all these beautiful things, and they chose to destroy it. When the settlers were pulled from Gaza, Gaza was made a prison. These people can't fish in their own waters. They have to go through crossings if they want to get out of that prison. And the crossings are arbitrarily closed by the occupying power as they see fit. You make me mad, you can't leave. And not only that, when these settlers were pulled from Gaza, the settlement expansion continued in the West Bank, making it clear to the Palestinians that they have no hope of self-determination and that they will always be second-class citizens. So a person from New York who has no connection to that land whatsoever, or a person from Europe somewhere that has no connection to that land whatsoever, these people continue to come to West Bank to this day and continue to dispossess the Palestinians. They continue to make them suffer. And in the West Bank, which isn't even Israel proper, doesn't even claim to be Israel by Israel itself, these people, they claim this land and they say, we are now the rightful owners of this land. And now we have our own roads that you can't travel on. And now you have to go through checkpoints, but we don't have to go through checkpoints. And if you want to get married to someone in East Jerusalem, you can't move there. But if I want to get married to someone there, I can move there, or I can move them over here. It is systemic racism. And the Palestinians have to accept this. And if they don't, they suffer collective punishment. If they protest, go look at protests and how the Palestinian protests are dealt with. You had the peaceful marches in Gaza not that long ago, the Great March of Return. And what happened? 400 people, something number like in hundreds. They got shot by snipers. So many people got killed, and these were protests. This wasn't an armed insurrection. They weren't armed. And the world just simply turned their head away. Why? Why? And in this country, we claim that we are against systemic racism, but when we see the purest iteration of systemic racism, the purest example of systemic racism, that is what is happening in the West Bank, what is happening in Gaza, and what is happening to a lesser degree in Israel proper, we just turn our heads away and we let these people suffer in silence. And then when they decide, give me liberty or give me death, then we say, oh, these are terrorists. But when the Ukrainians decide that, we say, oh, these are freedom fighters. That is the issue. So when these people did this, what happened before this is a lot of suffering that you never got to see. So the media has you loving the oppressors. The media is manipulating information in order to make the oppressors seem like victims. They don't show you the pictures of dead Palestinian children that have been dying all these years. They don't show you none of that. What they show you is the Israeli victims. And may God have mercy on their souls. I don't wish death upon anyone. But I am pointing out that the media manipulates the picture in order to make the oppressor seem like the victim, so they have the power of the victim, so they can have free reign to destroy these people and continue to subjugate them and to continue to practice systemic racism. And that is the issue. And that is why Malcolm said that. Because it is true. And if you aren't careful, then you are going to fall for that. I urge anyone, go find B'Tselem, find their website, find their social media channels. They are a Jewish organization. And their job is to expose. What they do is they expose the suffering of the Palestinians so people can see, because the media is not showing you that. Because the narrative is being manipulated in order to grant victimhood to Zionist entities, to Israel. And these are some of the most, their policies are systemically racist, there's systemic discrimination, and everything we claim to oppose here in the United States of America, they practice. And yet we send them our money, taxpayer money. And if people now are objecting to sending this money to Ukraine, but now those same people are wanting to send it to Israel, at least Ukraine deserves it more, because they are the victims as well. If you are not careful, you will be manipulated, and the media will have you hating the oppressed and loving the oppressor. And they do this mostly by omission, and then how they frame the issue. Once they frame the issue, you can't even think outside that box. So be very careful of the media. Peace be with you.